Hi everyone, welcome to What's New in Teams Calling. This is a recap of the updates for Teams Calling in December 2021. So let's go and have a look at our agenda. We're going to discuss and go through what's new in Teams Calling, including Microsoft Teams devices as well. And we'll also touch on and have a look at the Microsoft Teams roadmap for calling, touching over launched, rolling out, and in development roadmap items as well. And we'll see what's changed in December. So with this presentation, the updates listed are selected based on relevance of Teams Calling. That includes Microsoft Teams Phone, Teams devices, and Teams Calling as well. The release dates and timing are subject to change, and the items in here are relevant to Teams Calling. It's not a complete list of all the Microsoft Teams roadmap items. If you're looking for that, please go to and have a look at the Microsoft 365 roadmap. You can also download this presentation as well from aka.ms/what's new calling as well. This is a monthly presentation that I make recapping the previous month. So the highlights for December 2021. So with Microsoft Teams Calling, for Teams Phone, we've got updates with Dynamic E911 for US-based users. SIP Gateway is generally available. And for Teams Calling, end-to-end encryption for one-to-one Teams calls is also generally available as well. With Microsoft Teams devices, we've got updates around hot desking on Teams display. We've got a new video device from Jabra, the Panacast 20. Poly Studio Room Kits for Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows are available. And a new feature for Teams Rooms on Windows being meeting room capacity notifications. So let's go and have a look at our first topic of today, which is Teams Calling. And let's go through these updates. So the first one we've got is Dynamic E911 for US-based users. And this is that Teams Phone now supports Dynamic E911 for US-based users. And this allows for auto detection of their locations or the ability to provide editable locations to alert personnel in the event of emergency. So to enable this feature, administrators must enable E911 policy for the users, and the users must consent to location detection. And there is a note here for users who have not turned on location detection can continue to add a dynamic emergency address manually. So we have this feature in Skype for Business around allowing users to add their locations. You can now do that in Teams. And this is focused around particularly with remote working, ensuring we've got dynamic E911 and the correct location where a user is at that time if they were to make an emergency call. So that's for US-based users, and that's been launched as well. An update to SIP Gateway. We spoke about this in previous recordings of this, but SIP Gateway is generally available now, and this is for customers who are looking to leverage existing telephone hardware as they move to Teams Phone, and this includes hardware from Cisco. But with Cisco, you do need to make sure you've got the MPP firmware. We've got, you can also use Poly or Polycom devices from VVX, the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, etc. Devices from Yealink and audio codes as well. So this supports core calling functionality. So you're not going to get all the features of a Teams phone. A certified device being Teams Phone, but it does allow you to have inbound, outbound calls, call transfer. You can dial in and dial out of meetings. You do have voicemail with a message waiting indicator as well. So if you do have a large investment of these phones that you want to use with Teams Phone as perhaps an interim solution or a solution to get started before you look to replace and roll out Teams Phone devices, you can look at leveraging SIP Gateway as well. So that's generally available. There's some great documentation and blog posts on how to use that as well out there in the community. End-to-end encryption. This option is now generally available for one-to-one Teams calls. So this has been in preview for a little bit of time. This is now rolling out. If you want to leverage this feature, IT admins do have to enable this. So now if you have a Teams one-to-one audio video call, you want to leverage end-to-end encryption, you can enable that and use that as well. Again, there's some great blog posts out in the community for enabling this and using this feature as well. That was it for calling highlights in December. So we do have Teams device topics as well. So let's go and have a look at those. First one is hot desking on Teams display. So this feature allows employees to quickly locate and reserve flexible workspaces to touch down, make calls, set up ad hoc meetings, or sign in to access a personalized Teams experience. So if there is Teams devices in various spaces, you can look at hot desking, reserving, and signing in to get a personalized experience on these devices as well. So if you're working in the office, out the office, you can look at using Teams displays to do that and use hot desking. That's marked as rolling out on the roadmap at the moment. The Jabra Panacast 20. So this is a premium personal video conferencing device. This is designed for next generation collaboration experience. And it notes it's intelligent, secure, and portable, very small form factor, but has a lot of features, including a 13 megapixel camera, 4K Ultra HD video, powerful edge AI processing, zoom, intelligent lighting optimization. So go check out and have a look at the Panacast 20 over at Jabra's website. They've got some great videos and information around that device as well. Poly have Poly Studio Room kits for Teams rooms on Windows. So these room kits are available for focus, small to medium rooms. They are available for Teams rooms on Windows. And this is using the Poly GC8 console, Dell Optiplex 7080, and the Poly GC8 console with Lenovo ThinkSmart Core. And these room kits, these have some of the Poly, the direct AI experience with auto camera framing technology, with the Poly Studio P15 focus, but also the Poly Studio USB camera for small and medium. And this also looks at noise reduction technologies from Poly with Noise Block AI, acoustic fence. Go check out the Teams devices page, and there is a list for the Poly Studio room kits in there as well. So if you want some more information on the room kits, go have a look on the Teams devices page or over at Poly's website as well. A great new feature rolling out for Teams rooms on Windows is meeting room capacity. So now you can get a notification in room whether the room is over capacity, particularly in kind of where we are with COVID and looking at making sure there's not too many people, or we have to reduce room capacities. Now you can, an IT admin can define meeting room capacity for each Teams room account, and using data from meeting room cameras can support people counting. And we can identify how many people are in a room, but we can also use that and how many people are not in a room or rooms used. But you do need to look at using the intelligent cameras to take and use that functionality in there as well. This displays a banner, and this will automatically appear at the top of the front of room screen to alert participants if a room is over capacity. And I believe this can also be used also with Teams panels as well to bring these notifications just outside the room. So if the room is at capacity, and we can't have anybody else come into the meeting room, you'll get a notification on there as well. So that's a nice feature to have rolling out for Teams rooms on Windows. Now we'll look at some of the previous month's highlights. We'll just have a look into November. So some of the highlights for November around calling. We've got custom call part ranges, route calls to unassigned numbers, custom music on hold, SIP gateway was generally available, Operator Connect conferencing as well. Within Teams devices, there was some newly certified devices from Yealing, SBA support for Teams phone devices, Surface Hub available to be managed from the Teams Admin Center as well. So if you want any more information on those, you can check back at the previous month's recording that we've got of that if you want a bit more details, or check out the Tech Community blog as well. So now we'll have a look at the Microsoft 365 roadmap around Teams calling. So this is the roadmap items which have changed within the last month. So let's have a look at these. Let's have a look first. What's been added to the roadmap? So there's no items for calling that have been added this month. but there are some for devices. So there's a lot for Teams rooms on Windows and Android. So if we take Teams rooms on Android, chat bubbles during Teams meetings, meeting room capacity notifications for Teams rooms on Android, and front row layout for Teams rooms on Windows has been added. And there's a few more items: Meet Now support for Teams rooms on Windows, AAD conditional access for support for Teams rooms on Windows, calling app update, and also some roadmap items added for Teams panels as well. So check out and extend room reservations as well. So the front row layout was added in December, and the availability date currently on the roadmap is January. So that's this month. So I look forward to seeing front row for Teams rooms on Windows. If you've not seen that, there were some demos from the Fall Ignite showing a video experience of front row. So that looks really exciting to see that coming into Teams rooms on Windows. In development, 2 changes for calling around walkie-talkie on Teams phones, transcription for one-to-one calls, devices. Again, lots of updates in development, or lots of items in development for Teams rooms on Android and Teams rooms on Windows. And rolling out, which we spoke about, end-to-end encryption for Teams one-to-one VoIP calls, dynamic emergency calling for work from home. And for devices, we've got one launched item around split video layout across multiple screens for Teams rooms on Windows. So if you have 2 or dual screens for Teams rooms on Windows, before you could have one for content, one for video, or the video gallery. Now you can split the video gallery if you're not sharing content across 2 screens, which can really, optimize and make best use, if you're not sharing content, of dual screens. So that's great to see that at Teams rooms on Windows. Rolling out, there's hot desking on Teams displays that we spoke about, check-in and room release for Teams panels, and role-based scoping on device category as well. So a lot of items, new items added, a lot in development as well, and some launched and rolling out as well. So great to see that. So that's the end of this month's highlights for Teams calling. I look forward to seeing front row and some of the other items coming hopefully in January. And that's it for today. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.